You also worked on a project related to electronic voting called the Perfect Project.
Yeah, so electronic voting, of course, again, is another really interesting subject that computer scientists have gotten involved in, and some have gotten involved in a very big way. And a lot of this happened after the 2000 presidential election, which was controversial for what happened in Florida with respect to the punch card ballots and the recount in Florida. And then the rush to replace those voting systems with purely electronic voting systems, which are called DREs. And when this happened, a lot of people said, well, this is great. We've got computers everywhere else. Why shouldn't we be voting using computers? And computer security experts said, whoa, wait a minute now. There's a big difference between ordering a sandwich at a local, Subway sandwich shop and voting, right? So we got to worry about the security of these systems. And a lot of these systems are being built using large software environments, commercial operating systems that we know have thousands and thousands of bugs in them. They're being built using hardware that could be compromised. Some of the hardware actually had network capability. A lot of it has the ability to plug in, external modules, external memories. It was demonstrated numerous times that there were features in the hardware that allowed you to basically reprogram the firmware of the voting machine quite easily with just a few minutes of access to the machine. And, we all know the computers are incredibly powerful machines. They can do anything, right? Including lie to you, tell you that they've recorded your votes, but actually store a different set of votes. So as a result, computer security researchers started pushing back and speaking up and saying, we can't do it this way. This is really bad. We've got to be a lot more careful about it. Coming from my background, I both obviously support that position. But a lot of people were saying, for now, the safest thing that we can do is vote on paper. And yeah, it seems archaic, it seems primitive, but the fact is, voting on paper means we, the voter, creates an artifact that he or she is actually verified.
Right.
They create this artifact. It's a physical artifact. And as a result, we can scan it. We can process it the same way we read SAT tests very reliably. And then, by the way, if something does come up and we have reason to question the results of the election, we can always go back to the original artifact, the paper that the voter marked. And as a result, have much more confidence in the result, the outcome of the election. So that is a tremendously powerful premise. I still think it's the right way to do things. I think a lot of people would agree with me. But there's still some challenges with reading paper-based ballots, right? So one of the things that we should be worried about or concerned about is what were called marginal markings. Markings, for example, if the instructions say that you should completely fill in an oval, right? Well, the fact is some people aren't going to read the instruction. They're going to use an X mark. They're not going to fill in the oval. Or maybe they'll try to fill in the oval and they'll only get half of it. And as a result, we need really powerful pattern recognition and image processing techniques to be able to deal with these situations. And that's what the Perfect Project was, is to start working on some of those techniques.
Okay. And did anything specific come out of this, like in terms of new voting machines or?
Well, some of the methods that we developed, I actually was involved in a discussion in my local county that was making a decision about a month ago about voting technology. And I noticed that one of the vendors that was proposing a system was actually using some things that we've been talking about. And I won't claim that we invented those ideas, but this was about a decade later, and those ideas are starting to permeate some areas, which is good to see.
Yeah. On a political level, what do you think is necessary to push the idea that we need paper voting systems and not electronic voting systems?
Well, the good news is there are a lot of people and a lot of places that are pushing this forward. There are a lot of states, and even at the federal level, there are a lot of lawmakers who are understanding the case and making the case for a switch to verifiable paper-based voting systems. So there's a lot of laws and proposed laws that are floating around now. Different places are making different transitions. In my state, we're making a move led by the leadership in our state towards safer voting systems overall. I think we were in a very weak position until recently, and we're now making a transition where some of the systems, some of the counties are actually adopting better systems. It's going to be a long process, I think. The U.S. is a very interesting place where everyone gets to make their own decision about what we use. You can't have a dictate from on high, and it's probably more robust that we actually have this more distributed approach to making those decisions. But I would like to see everyone be well informed about the advantages and disadvantages and not think that paper is like old-fashioned.
Right. It is interesting because it seems like not only on a state level, but a lot of voting is controlled on a county level throughout the U.S., which...
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a very interesting system we have here in the U.S. And when I give talks about this other places, I've given talks in Europe, for example, I have to explain, by the way, you have to understand the way things work in the U.S., and it's not the way it works here.